Welcome, everybody. We have an amazing guest with us now. This woman was pregnant at 11, drug addicted and convicted, and she basically went through horrific things that no person would want to go through. And she's also a clinical psychologist. She's a film producer. She's worked on Patch Adams and A Day of Trouble, amongst many others. And look, I'll introduce the wonderful Cheryl Rich. Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Hello there, John. I'm honored to be here with you on the show with your listeners.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Listen, you really struck a chord with me, and your story was just amazing. Where you've come from, um, drug addicted and pregnant at 11. What happened? What happened then?
Well, the story starts off. I always say, especially as a clinical psychologist, that everything stems from childhood. I just sincerely believe it. Some psychologists believe it's environmental, it's different genetic. I believe that it's childhood. But inside the wound of my mother, she attempted to abort me. When I said attempted, she actually paid money. She left Cleveland, Ohio, rode a bus 4 hours, maybe more, to Detroit and took care of her business because she couldn't afford another child. She had an 8-year-old and she had just left Baltimore for a new life to Cleveland and came up pregnant. So that abortion, as you can see, hi, didn't
Oh,
actually work. I
God.
tell everybody I hid behind the left portion of the liver when the hanger came up. But that will explain a little bit about the beginning of my journey, if I even know that story.
Wow.
So by 11 years old, and I'm writing a book right now, so there'll be some details I won't go into extensively because I want to save something for the book. But yes, by 11, I'm pregnant, and that's a horrendous situation that's happening in order to have that happen. And I'm 7 months before the family finds out. 7 months. So you got a 11-year-old little girl walking around a household with two parents and a grandmother, Grandma Beulah, and my sister, who's 8 years older, and a 11-year-old could be 7 months pregnant and not be. That says a lot within itself. So, indeed.
That is a huge responsibility. I mean, massive. I don't know. I mean, 11. I was playing football and these things,
Uh,
and adulthood was
yes.
something way off in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As at this age, and I'm very grateful to be able to state my age, 62, that I've lived to tell about it. I tell all of the youngsters, you either get to grow old or you make a beautiful young corpse. When I say that, actually, a lot of them have wanted to fight in the moment. But it's true, age is a gift. And at 62, I think about being 12-year-old mother, an 11-year-old pregnant little girl. And it's hard for me to even conceive that. And I lived it. So
Yeah.
I really get how unbelievable that is.
Coming through that, like when you're saying that, I get a sense of there's this thing always fascinates me in a respectful way of how people get through these things. I've heard lots of stuff, but how did you get through it so young? Did you have support? What?
Well, mom and dad, I came from a two-parent household, but um, it was the disconnection with me and my mother was there coming out the womb. I had a Grandma Beulah, and Grandma Beulah was the rock.
Okay.
And this woman lived sharecropping. She couldn't read, very much was, part of the entire enslavement movement. It was not the slave trade. Kings and queens were snatched, sold each other because there has always been conquer mentality in human beings. But these were kings and queens snatched and brought to this land. And so diabolical, the entire situation had me calling myself a slave. Just 8 months ago, it dawned on me that enslaved and the enslavement um, movement that happened. So my grandma, Beulah, was my great grandmother. And she, of course, was very intertwined into that world. And yet she couldn't read, but she had enough mother wit, is what we call it. And I don't know in your community, but in the Black community, it's called mother wit. And that's what a book can't teach you. And Grandma Beulah, early on, when I was real young, I can remember digging in the trunk, finding fabric so that we could quilt together. And she would have me, my nickname is Tootie, and she would always have me thread the needle because she couldn't see. And I would thread the needle, and she'd be so proud. She'd clap. And it was moments, John, that I remember Grandma Beulah saying, "Well, look at you. You're the smartest, the nicest, the strongest, and the prettiest little girl in the whole wide world. Why, you can do anything. Show me your muscles. Turn around for Grandma." And she clapped. And she literally could not read, but she did that religiously. And she always left pretty last, smartest,
Wow.
nicest, strongest. And I remember my mom coming in from work, working two jobs. Lord knows, my mother's saying is that she has a vegetable garden on her feet to keep good shoes on our feet, corns, calluses, and bunions. And I remember that very clearly. Mom worked hard. And she would come in and hear Grandma Beulah, and my mother would just say, "Oh, you're not. Why are you spoiling her? What is wrong with you? You're not. Stop spoiling her. You're not the strongest. You're not the nicest. You're not." And I remember Mom being in my face. I have a memory, and this is like 5, maybe 4. But I remember Grandma Beulah would be there, and she would be over Mom's shoulder. And my grandma would roll her eyes up into the sky and shake her head like, "Ah, please." And when my mother would walk away, my grandma Beulah would pick me up, and I could see the fat on her arms. And she would say, "Oh, don't you listen to Senior. Don't you listen. Don't you ever listen to Senior. Why, Tootie, you're the strongest and the nicest." And she started again.
Oh,
So coming through the disconnection, and I was told that getting pregnant disrupted the family and broke the family up, but the disconnection was there way before I got pregnant, which explains uh, why a little girl could walk around 7 months and no one knows. So, saying all of that to say that when I was told I was bad, you tell a child they're bad, they become what you tell them.
yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
And I became real bad and skipped over cigarettes, marijuana, liquor. I started shooting heroin because I wanted to be bad,
At
just like everybody told me.
what age, Cheryl, were you addicted to
I was
heroin?
13 when I took my first shot of heroin.
My
Yeah,
God.
yeah. So I always want to bring a lesson out with every story and with everyone who is chosen and highly favored to find John and hear this podcast and have someone on this earth like John who has a heart to listen to me on Clubhouse and just feel this urgency that I have to implant seeds of love within everyone I can touch so that they will not hurt like I've hurt. We thank God for John. That's number one. So each and every one of you that hear this podcast, know that you are chosen and highly favored. And now you have the tools with every child that you meet, every positive word that you possibly can say. If you find yourself cussing at a child saying, "You're stupid," now you know, whoa, wait a minute, let
Mm.
me stop. Because as sure as we are an ear hearing of each other, what you say to a young mind will mold that mind. And by the time I'm in the midst of committing every crime that I could possibly commit, shooting the drugs and drowning in pain, I heard Grandma Beulah's voice. And when people say, "How did you make it out of?" And if I'm saying this, you could imagine how treacherous the journey has been and how the book will be. But I always say, in the midst of whatever, I heard Grandma Beulah's voice in the back of my mind. And I would say, "Why am I doing this? What's wrong with me? Why, I'm strong." So I share that with everyone, whether you're a parent whether you see a child in a store, tell that child, why, you're the strongest and the nicest and the smartest. Do that, because that helped me.
It's yes, I agree. The messages that we receive, like, they're like seeds, and the weeds grow amongst the flowers, don't they? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What a visual. That's a great visual, John. Great.
I know what it's like. I believed the negativity myself, and, for anyone out there, it's important to realize that there is a way out of that, but we get onto that later. But
Yeah.
your life didn't turn around then, did it, Cheryl? It got worse. You ended up in prison,
Yes.
and
Yes.
tell us
My
about
life
that.
got worse because when you're told you're bad, you become that. And what I started doing was catching cases, criminal cases, car theft, drug sales, felonious assault against a cop. Like, it couldn't get crazy enough. I tell everyone I was the other half of Clyde. I became Bonnie. And I had a dad who was the only father I'd known. He wasn't my real father, but I didn't know that till I was around 13. But Walter Wallace Grady was my daddy. And Walter had a third grade education. Like Beulah couldn't read, Walter had a third grade education, but he built a brick business and worked at Republic Steel. And we had an attorney, a family attorney. So when I caught a case, the shame I had already draped the family in with the child, they wanted to do everything possible to stop the shame, because we live our entire lives, of course, concerned with what others think,
Of
which
course,
is
shame
truly,
is a big one, Cheryl. Shame is a big one.
that's a no-no.
Mm.
But my father would give our family attorney the money bag when I caught a case, and I actually went inside the judge's chambers. And as uh, a clinical psychologist is 62, and most of all an ex-convict, because eventually I went to prison. I can't even imagine going inside of a judge's chambers. It seemed the money would have been transferred in the hallway, but I would go inside the judge's chambers, watch the judge get his cut, prosecutor get their cut, and my attorney would take his cut from the money bag that daddy sent. And there'd be a lot of laughter and a lot of jokes between all the men, and I would come out and stand in front of the judge and get probation. So early on, I understood that America's first heroes were America's first crooks.
Mm.
And I understood how the justice system worked, which made me, with a young mind, think, oh, well, this is just a game. I'll just keep getting in trouble doing what I want. Daddy will pay me out and everything will be fine. And that happened for 6 cases until finally I ran into a judge named Bert W. Griffin. And I was standing in front of judges when I come out of that chamber and say, "Oh, I'm in school, and I had a baby so young," and you know the sob story. But the payoff had already happened. But Daddy found out I was shooting dope and stopped spending when I ran into Bert W. Griffin, that judge, and that judge said 4 years, 5 months, Maryville's reformatory for women, and you can go in drug rehab when you get to the penitentiary. Get her out of here.
Whoa.
And yeah, that right there, unable to be a mother to my own child because pain hurts and hurt people hurt. And most of all, until we make a choice, that's a huge word because we're human beings. Until we make the choice to break the chains of pain, it passes on.
What age did you enter prison at, Cheryl?
25,
25.
25,
And your son was how old?
13. He was
13.
about 13 or 14 when he saw me get tackled by some bounty hunters and thrown in a police car. Yeah. Yep.
Like, there's so much that happens in a life like that that isn't said. I mean, obviously, like, so many days of craziness, and
Yes.
then the enabling stops, and you end up in prison. I mean, good luck, bad luck, who knows, as the Chinese say, but you didn't look like good luck, I'm sure. But what
Oh, not at all.
your life must have changed in prison, did it, or not? Or what
Oh,
happened?
God. I tell everybody, if you have a family member that's just wilding out and disrupting, and you see the self-destruction, know one or two things. Prayer changes things. I'm no holy roller. I don't run up on the church every Sunday, but I am spiritually connected. And I'm here to tell everyone again who's listening to this that is chosen and highly favored. Because if you are listening to this, believe those words. You are chosen and highly favored. And whether it's you going through it or someone you know, pray. Prayer changes things. And then once you know you've done your due diligence and going to the creator, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. Did I say creator? Because I tell everybody I've stopped all the names. Buddha, God, all I call God, God, but I just came up with creator of all of heaven and earth. And if anybody can deny that, show me who lives forever.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something that created all this. And once you know you've done your due diligence with someone who you see is hurting so bad, they're self-destructing, or you're killing yourself, or you hate yourself. Once you know, understand that everyone is not meant to change. They're not meant to be saved.
Yeah.
Some come as teachers. And that's what I realized Eric came for, my son. He didn't come to stay long. He came as a teacher. He was high off of liquor and wet when he caused the car accident and killed himself, hit a man head on and killed the man. But he came to teach gratitude in my life, the power of growing old. If I lost him at 30. But by the time I got to prison, I understood something called being arrested and something called being rescued. And sometimes you have to hit the brick wall in order. They say they call it the bottom, as we all know, but in order to get rescued. And that's how it was when I hit prison, was the very first time that I was able to stop and realize that I wasn't that bad. And I share that with everyone that's listening. Just as simple as this, if you wake up every day, you find yourself with some breath, know that you are not that bad because you have grace to be breathing. That was one of the first messages that hit me when I hit the penitentiary. Yeah.
Cheryl, did your son pass away while you were in prison, or what
Yeah.
happened?
Isn't that grace? 6 months, 17 days after I came home. I did 4 years, 5 months in the penitentiary. I
So you
cannot,
released early? Was
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, when I got home. But I often tell people it's something called ground legs when you're in prison. And when you go to maximum security, thank goodness I never had to. But you get out and your legs are wobbly. You can't walk because you've been laid in one space, you know. Thank God we have legs to walk. But it's called ground legs. And so when you get home and you've done a certain amount of time, it takes a minute to get your ground legs. So Eric was gone 6 months, 17 days later. I didn't even have my ground legs. That situation, I never even understood when it says in the Bible, and for all those who believe in the Bible, gave his only begotten son. That never even clicked until my only begotten son was gone. So he got killed once I came home, and that was really a blessing. I saw many people have to be shackled, feet shackled, hands shackled, chains all around him to go to a funeral while I was in prison. I got spared that.
I honestly I can't believe, or I don't know what that's like. I have one daughter, and
Oh,
she's the world to me, and
yeah.
um, I've it's never happened to me, so I've only a sense of what you're saying.
No. You know, you're right now, you're trying to find some words.
I am, yeah,
I
yeah,
know. And I'm
yeah.
glad you are because I often tell parents, don't think about it. And as much as you may hear it, it happens to a very small percentage that burying your child, don't even think about it. And most of all, know this, that you have the power to command life in your child. there was a situation that happened right before Eric got killed, and his father, the father that I said was his dad, um, at least I thought was. Let me put it to you like that. That part will be in the book. But he called and said, I need to lay hands on Eric. Tell Eric to call me. I need to lay hands. And I was like, yeah, yeah. Second day. I need to lay hands on Eric, Cheryl. Tell Eric to call me. I got to lay hands. Eric came in. Eric, call Milton. Call your father. He tripping. What's wrong? Tripping. Keep talking about laying hands on you. And third day, Cheryl, Cheryl, you got to tell Eric to call me. I got to lay hands on. Huh. The next day, Eric was dead. So I take that lesson and I tell all parents, you can command life over your child.
um, I'm just thinking that's happening. It's very surreal to think about it, and you're just out of prison. I presume you're after being sober a while. You may be in prison. Um, did you have the resources to get through this? How did you get through that, and what happened?
Well, and backtrack a little bit because you had asked me how I made it with Eric. I had support from my mother and father with him. In prison, I ended up knitting, and that's really how I did the time to survive. But in prison, you can get anything, any drug, whatever you want. Right now, which wasn't then, the prisons were just becoming privatized when I got there. This private prison system is straight scandalous.
There's money in prisoners. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
But right now, I deal with a lot, several people that are in prison, and cell phones sell for $1,000.
Yeah,
The
wow.
guards actually, and I'm going to say allegedly,
Okay.
um, cell phones, and then there's a big huge raid, and all the cell phones get swooped up and they get redistributed, and that is how our penal system is. So I could have gotten drugs in prison, and they were plentiful, but of course that's when I decided that change truly can happen, and it was either do some changing or die, because I wasn't coming back. I couldn't go back, and I knew I couldn't do it again.
So you had the offer of drugs, I presume, right?
A lot of them. Not
So
only that, my knitting needles. I became so good with knitting that I could get anything in the prison and anything out of the prison. I
so you're
literally,
making jumpers and things for people, and yeah, making money,
well, the
mate.
guards, no, the guards. I knit 5-piece suits. I can't even tell you how exquisite hand knits. So the guards fell in love with me, and but if anyone came to me and asked me about any drugs, they laid down in maximum security. I had that kind of clout that I could literally get you swooped up and put in max for just coming to me. So the word got around real quickly not to go to Cheryl with anything. As far as now, if you wanted some Red Lobster, I could probably work that out. Some Ritz crackers, brand name, I could get stuff like that.
So resourceful. Did you go into any program in there? Like,
While I was there, yes, indeed. What a great question. I ended up going into, it was called rehab, and we were the very first women's institution in the nation to leave the institution and go learn construction. Again, the prisons were just becoming privatized. So this was actually a minister who had a church who thought of this program. And we learned um, carpentry, like drywall. I can build a house, roofing, siding, and we got $1.27 a day for building houses. So we would go to a particular area in Lima, Ohio, and we rebuild homes. But when I got out, that if there was any one thing that changed my life, because when I came out of prison, I literally had a skill. And for the very first time, um, I could go get a job that would make money, enough money to, make some sense. And
Did you
that's
ever
what I
have
did.
did you ever have a real job, Cheryl? No?
Did I ever have one now?
Did you ever have a real job before that?
No, I didn't have a real job before prison. I
Okay.
was in so much pain.
Yeah.
And my undergrad was fashion, so I could sew, but no, no,
Yeah. So
no, not really.
so you're facing world at what age, when you came out, like, d d like, did you have the skills is what I'm saying? I mean, I just find it hard to comprehend somebody with a life like that, so young and it going so wrong, then ending up in prison, not to have the life skills. I mean, there's a lot of catch up to do in a way. Where did you gain the confidence and things?
Would you say that to have life skills?
Yeah,
That's what you're
like,
saying. You're asking. Yeah,
yeah,
let's talk about it.
skills and the confidence. Where did that come from?
The confidence got built over time. Um, I often uh, say to people that we have drug rehabilitation centers, and last time I checked, one was like before the everything changed in our society, because that's I don't even like to give the virus a name. Things just changed. But I was like 100,000 a month at some drug rehabilitation centers, and yet as fast as we and watch this, blink our eyes. Wait a minute, blink your eyes real quick. Everybody that's listening, blink your eyes. Blink your eyes. Now your mind just had to tell your eyes to blink. So quicker than you blink your eyes is how you make up your mind. It's just that simple. However, we are human beings and we really like to believe that it takes a lot to change, but it doesn't. And we're human beings, so we got this wonderful thing called choice. I didn't know that. So it took time to build up the confidence. Just coming home from the penitentiary and you are supposedly you've paid your dues and you can come back to society. No, being an ex-convict is one level above death in our society.
Really? So you're
Yes,
really up
very much
against
so.
it.
You're
Wow.
really, really up against it. So what I share now, and I've spoken inside of juvenile halls, foster homes, prisons, the whole bit. I tell young people, get a trade. Because one thing about working construction, it gave me the ability to have a trade. I did not become skilled trade. I tell young people, whatever you do, become an electrician or a plumber, because wherever you go, your job goes. And that empowers you. And so between Turner Construction and which is where I got a job, thank you, Turner. I can't wait to the day that they finally be like said, "Ooh, we didn't make a mistake." But yeah, I got a job at Turner Construction, and I was like I said, I was from there making some serious choices that and when Eric got killed, I got all kinds of calls. When my son got killed in the car accident, I got folks from my past that was like, "Girl, we heard what happened. Come on, we got it. You don't need no money. We got some bomb. Heroin is it's off the chain. We know you need something." And I thought I did. And I got all the way in the car and got ready to drive off with my mother screaming and crying. And I heard Grandma Beulah's voice. And along with that voice came my son's voice, who had just got killed. And I backed the car up, parked it, and it's been just making choice since then. Understanding the privilege of being a human being and being able to make a choice. We may be victims when we are little, but we can become survivors at any given moment once you are grown.
That's a powerful message. There's there's
Thank you.
there's power in those choices. When there's a disconnect from that old programming, yeah, I mean, that's profound. I mean, I can see you sitting in a car going, "I'm either gonna shoot myself up and probably kill myself as well," and
Yes.
different road, a different road.
And drowning in pain at that time. Life's gonna bring us no none of us, the great equalizer came. and
Yeah.
they called it COVID-19 for the first time in the history of the world. And I will say this with ease. Rich people and broke people had so much in common.
Mm.
I didn't say poor. Poor is a state of mind, broke is a situation. But we really are going to go through challenges, obstacles. And when you look at them instead of hard times, hard, no, a desk is hard, a wall, hard. It's a challenge. And when you look at life like that, when you understand that it's all really magical as long as you're waking up. Now, I had to find some tools along the way, and I know we're getting ready to wrap soon, so allow me to say this. The very first thing I did was I started stretching and breathing. And I started that 3 minutes on the floor. And that was when I was inside prison, I started exercising. The exercise kicked off the same chemical. The creator is so merciful. We have a chemical in our brain that gets us drunk. That's why we turn around in circles when we're little. You see a little kid spinning. That's the chemical. That's what they're after, that euphoric feeling. So it's in there, and exercise kicked it off. Then I found something called yoga, and I realized no pain, no gain. That's a lie. Breathing long, slow, and deep. Close your eyes real quick, everybody who's blessed to be listening. Feel the cool air coming into your nostril, warm air releasing. Cool air in the nose only, warm air releasing. One more time. Cool air in the nose only, warm air releasing. If you did not let a voice tell you not to do that, what voice? That voice in your head, or is it a thought? Thoughts when you want to stay out of the mental institution, voices when you want to go in, but I call them voices. So if you didn't let that sabotage voice, because there's always a couple of them talking, if
Mm.
you closed your eyes and you did that, the mind can't think of two things at one time, which is why I flood it and say it so quick. So you just have peace, your birthright. You just found the silence between the chatter inside the mind. Whether it's your life's wonderful or it's judgmental, whatever it is, it's chatter, chatter, chatter. So becoming attuned with the voices inside the head and finding the silence between the chatter gives you a moment to just be. And then suddenly you have your peace of mind, which was really your birthright, your
Mhm.
courage and your freedom you were born with. It just gets buried. So I encourage everyone, movement. I don't like to say yoga, although I've been practicing for 22 years. Breath and movement. Start as basic as you want to and listen to the voices. Go to the mirror, do the mirror exercise, look into your eyes, look through your eyes into your soul. And with every thought or voice, whichever one, write it down. Start keeping a log of what comes into your mind. And that's going to give you some stability to be able to step outside of life with the breath. And now you can think because you're not caught up in every moment. So I encourage everyone, that's where it started for me. If I can tell you anything, start a stretch and breathing routine, do that mirror exercise. And the only way I can put it is your brain literally rewires itself. And suddenly you fall in love with you and life.
I'm so glad you found some ease, Cheryl, and I totally get the fact of you disconnected from the old thinking patterns because we believe
Yes,
we're there's a yeah, I'm all over that. I get you, and
I love it.
yeah, there's an
Disconnect from the old thinking patterns. I like that.
it's like
That's,
you're at ease now, aren't you? I mean, you got. I'm glad you got some ease because that was a tough time. That was a tough time.
yeah. I believe I was saved to touch lives, and that's all. Hollywood, I've got two shows coming in entertainment.
I
Uh,
know producer and hold
yeah,
on, psychologist as well. You're skipping a big part.
yeah, I'm skipping
You're
it.
a
Yes,
psychologist too. Come on.
I
What?
got out of I got out of prison and decided, whoa. While I was in prison, I decided you got to do some things differently. You're not that bad. You got to, figure this out. So
Yeah.
I go back and I have one class when I dropped out with an undergrad in fashion and a minor in psych at Kent State. in Kent, Ohio, and I got out and went to Antioch University. Most people think I got my master's in prison. No, which is
Okay.
great too. All the education has been taken out of the prisons now. You can't even, it's not
Mm.
like that. Used to could get a degree there. From my understanding, that stopped due to the privatization. But yeah, I got out, went to Antioch University here in Southern California, got a master's in clinical psychology.
Wow.
And I actually left Cleveland with 5 boxes of Computer and a Dream, chasing something I thought was called success. And the creator held it back for many years until I found out that can only be found inside. Financial security, financial success, yes, success inside. So now things are happening in old Hollywood. There's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Doug DeLuca
I
of
have
the
his
Jimmy
name
Kimmel
here.
Show.
That's a big name. Go on, tell us all about Doug DeLuca. This is
What I will tell you is that many people cross my path in Hollywood as I checked door number one, number two, number three. But it was Doug DeLuca who saw past the glasses, saw past the clothes, and saw my heart. And he has a history in this town and has put his name on my show. And right now the show is over at a network, and I'm honored that he's in my life because he makes this world a better place. And I think for sure that Doug knows that when it all happens, I will do the work. Hollywood is my passion. But feeding homeless people and bowing down when they take the food from my hand is my purpose. I have found my purpose. And as we wrap this, my prayer is that each one of you are touched by the words that I have said. And I pray that it falls on fertile ground, because just as simple as it is to hurt and hate yourself, it's just that simple to simply fall in love with yourself and love this thing called breath, because that's the last thing we do, guys. It all comes down to, I'm going to say it one more time, the rest of it is an illusion. So as long as you're waking up with breath, no, you're okay. Everything is fine. Thank you so much, John.
thank you so much. You're an inspiration, and as long as you're breathing, and be mindful and be careful what you say to the kids, and be
That's
careful.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, save the babies.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I wish you many successes, and I'm sure, going by what you've taught me, there's big, big things to come from you, Cheryl. And I can't wait to see what happens. I mean, I'm really excited for you. Um,
Well, I'm honored. When it all takes off, the one thing you'll know is you'll always be able to get your interviews because you were smart enough to say, "Wait a minute,
yeah,
I
it
I
was on my
felt her.
show. Yeah,
I felt
yeah,
her."
yeah.
I'm honored. That's all I can say. Moments like this, I got tears in my eyes right now. It humbles me. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Take care, Cheryl. Thank
Okay.
you.
God bless you. Bye.